Hello, and Peter here with another exciting project for Crafty Crusaders blog. I'm going to be using SetaSkrib Pebeo markers today for fabric, and I've got a piece of fabric here that I've already put some fabric paints on and used some stencils and things on, and I've just pulled out one of my stencils. And I'm actually using a biro to put that stencil marking onto, just roughly onto the fabric. Why? Because a lot of the lines in this particular stencil are a bit too small for the SetaSkrib nib, even though it's actually a really fine nib. So instead of using, trying to get that through, or using a paint, I'm just using a biro, and you can see now I'm just filling in that image and just adding extra hair embellishments and things like that to it and making the image a little bit more my own. And then as soon as I finished, it's like using a pencil really, because everything will go over the top of this biro. So and then the exciting part will be starting to use the markers. Now with these markers, you just have to iron them for 5 minutes on a dry iron, and then they are able to be washed and they survive the wash. Now this particular design that I'm doing today, I am ultimately going to make some kind of a bag or some kind of fabric project out of it, or I may even cover a journal in it. So these are fabulous because they allow you to have such beautiful detail. So I'm starting off with a fluoro pink, and I'm just putting in some basic details and the undercolorings of the flowers that I want for this particular thing. And look, you can see all the patterns underneath my girl, and I want those to show through. Now the thing that I really love about these markers is that they blend. So when I go over pink with yellow, it will make an orange, and vice versa. And also too, when I'm going over the existing paint that's there, it's really interesting that it starts to make a purple. So I'm doing the eye now, and I'm using the light and the dark in the SetaSkrib markers along with the black, and now I'm doing the lips with the red. I'm leaving some of the details white in the lips for the highlights. And so you can see I'm using the flat side and the nib side. So I'm using the flat side when I don't want a sharp line and I want to just shade a lot of things, and then I'm using the nib when I want to put it in. So you can see how I'm holding it on the side now, and that's giving me variations in light to dark on the color spectrum. So this is the first coat, and I'm using an orange here. I'm not using the fluoro orange, I'm using a normal orange, and I'm just putting in the bones of the hair. I'm putting in the biro lines that I've already marked in for the beautiful girl's hair, and now I'm just shading it in a little bit more with the side of the brush. Now because I am not going to actually be wearing this particular fabric, I am now going to use some acrylic paints for her face. Now the reason why I'm using a normal acrylic paint for the girl's face after I've put in some of these feathers that are in her hair, and I'm using the black SetaSkrib to do these because I really want them to stand out, to be really bold. Now the reason I'm going to use some acrylic paints for her skin tones is that there are no skin tones in the Pebeo range, and look, part of our role as design team members is to really try these products out for different types of things. And when I mixed some of the colours together in the fabric marker and also the range, you can tell that there is no light colours in my arsenal that will create a flesh tone. So consequently I'm using some acrylic paints, but vice versa, if you've ever got an acrylic paint in fabric, you'll find that it it's actually quite tough to get out. So I'm actually using my fabric a little bit like paper, and I'm putting an undercoat in there, but you can see all the stenciled images that have gone on before and are already dry. You can still see through her skin, and that's part of the beauty of what we do, because all those earlier layers show through. Now I'm just using a raw umber, and it's just putting in some of the dark shadows, and now I'm going back in with the light shadows and going over that and just adding the planes and the lights, the highlights and the lowlights of the face. And the more I do that, until I just keep doing that until I'm really happy with the light and shade on the face. And she's looking a lot more lifelike now. So now I'm just using a white fabric paint to actually put a little highlight in her eye, and to put some white highlights to blend it into the face and the lips. And this just, again, gives light and shade to her face. And there you go. Now I'm using the SetaSkrib pen, and I'm just blending it in with a brush. And so even though you've got pens, you can apply it and dot it in and then blend it in with the brush, particularly if it's over paint. So if you've already got some layers, so now I'm going to put in some of those details that were just in biro. Now I'm using the marker that I couldn't use before, and I'm using it on its side sometimes and also on its nib. And you'll see sometimes I just use almost sketchy strokes and broken lines. I don't want it to look too illustratorly, and I am just trying to just add just a tiny amount of definition to this rather than make the black a feature. But I think she's looking a little bit gorgeous. Now the amazing thing is you can write with these. So when you want to write, say you want to write beautiful girl, and you might have drawn a fairy or something on a beautiful t-shirt, you can just go and write anything that you want. So you've got the details. That's the thing I love about the markers, and that's why I did this project just with the markers, to show you the versatility that you can do with this particular product. And isn't she gorgeous? So now she just has to dry. I leave that to dry, then I'm going to set it with an iron for 5 minutes, and then she's wash and wear. But the exciting thing is I'm just adding now even in some red. So I'm now just adding in a third colour for her hair, so that I've just got some real shadows and lowlights for that. The exciting thing is, what will I use her for? Ciao for now. See you next time.